Hey, hey, hey. Let me just get some more light here. It's winter time, so there's very little light, although the sky is pretty cleared up today. I do feel like, wait, it's a bit too strong. I do feel like I want to have a little bit more light just to make sure that you can see me okay. So, okay, so today is going to be more like a class setting. So if you want to grab a journal and, just get some notes going, you can. I really want to talk to you about some things that I actually normally teach in my programs, but I feel like I really want to share them with you here in the community because I believe that you're probably just as energy obsessed as I am. And you probably are very curious about, well, maybe how I use the feminine and masculine energy in my own business, but also how it can actually help you leverage your business wherever you are. And I know that some of you are not necessarily coaches, or maybe you're not even working in a setting, directly where you have to, like engage prospects and anything like that. But I do feel that it is important to know about these topics because even though you might be in a employer-employee situation, some of the things that I'm going to be talking to you about might also show up. But the main piece here that I really will talk into is about you being an entrepreneur and actually maybe being a coach, a light worker, or a healer, using your gifts in order to bring clients into your world, and basically to generate income through that. So really, when it comes to to business and marketing, a lot of the things that I learned in the beginning were very much masculine forward. So I'm not here to tell you that it's wrong to be masculine forward at all. This is really not not the aim of this video. It really is more just me chatting about why it was important for me to be more forward masculine in the beginning, but also how eventually it burned me out and it actually didn't really create or generate the income that I wanted. And for many years, I didn't know what was actually wrong as such with that technique or with that, way of accessing my business. And when I found out about the differences between the masculine and the feminine energy, and that actually I was really catering my business from this very masculine forward modality only, and I understood where I was really giving my power away into something that looked, very much like a normal 9 to 5, except that I was working a lot more. I was literally burning out, and I had very little time left to have meaningful relationships. I was literally just, stored away behind my laptop for most of my days, and it just wasn't fulfilling. And I know that a lot of entrepreneurs go through that period, and I just want to let you know that there's absolutely nothing wrong with you if this is what is happening to you right now. And I'm not going to come in here to tell you that what you're doing isn't the way you're supposed to be doing it. If you're doing it, it's because you're actually receiving something out of it, and you're placing things on the movement carpet within your own business where you might actually reap the benefits later on. However, there comes a point, and a pivotal point, and this is really the space that I want to talk into today, where you're realizing that you could literally be doing this or operating in this way for another 10 years, and literally 10 years would be literally being flushed down the drain. And you wouldn't necessarily generate more income, you wouldn't necessarily have better clients, you wouldn't necessarily live a fulfilling, thriving life, and you would most likely, have to burn the candle on both sides, where, your finances are going to suffer, or your health is going to suffer, or your relationships, or maybe you have, candles burning from all kinds of ends, right? So this is really something that I've clocked into a few years ago now, and I'm so happy that I received education around this, and I received a different way of seeing things. And so maybe there's something that you're looking into. Maybe that's something that you're desiring as well to shift, because you can see that clearly this isn't the way that you wish to operate, within your business. As a business owner, it doesn't make sense, because you're literally either, taxing on your own well-being and your sanity, or you're taxing on your relationships, or you're simply taxing on the money that is actually remaining on the table, because you can't access it. And hopefully the chat that I'm going to have with you today is going to highlight and illuminate some of these blind spots and why this actually happens, right? So I'm just sipping my little tea. It's a little strong. It's actually blue tea. I really love black tea in the winters. It just, it makes me feel so cozy. I think I should have put some honey in there. Anyway, so talking about feminine and masculine energy, what is it like? This is something that I go into much more depth in my programs. There's one program that I'm running at the moment, which is called The Elevated Goddess, and it's all about understanding where you're positioning yourself within the feminine and masculine blueprints, and specifically, with the empowered dynamic as well as the disempowered dynamic. And this is so important because we all have the capacity and the ability to tap into our empowered feminine, masculine energetics. It's just that when we don't know what we don't know, we can't change things, right? So I'm not really going to go too much into the empowered, disempowered dynamic, but just the way I want you to, look at it is that you have the feminine, the feminine energy on one side and the masculine energy on the other side. And they're basically, the way that I was taught this by my, beautiful mentors, was that the masculine and the feminine energy actually hold a polarity together. And the fact that they are, on the opposite spectrum is actually what creates magnetism and attraction. And so this works within the disempowered. If you look at the disempowered dynamic at the bottom and you put the empowered dynamic at the top, it would work in exactly the same way. But the gist of this is that, one has to be more on the receptive gateway. So, I'm using my left hand. I know it's possibly the right that you're seeing on your side, but it doesn't matter what side it is. But on one side of, if you look at the feminine on one side, you'd have the feminine being, the receptive energy, right? This is the energy that allows us to receive things. It's the energy that allows us to feel things. It's the energy that allows us to be in flow, to relax, to be in the well-being, to really, orientate all of our life around what is creating a state of harmony, love, peace, serenity, right? And it's this leaning back energy. It's actually non-doing, it's more being, right? Hi, Cindy. Oh, so fun to have you, joining. So you have that. So this is actually probably not going to be very new to you, but I will actually put it in terms of the business setting if you want to, sit with me, and you can grab your journal and take some notes. So back to the energy. So you have the feminine energy, which is more the receptive gate. It's, when you're leaning back, basically, you're being more than doing. And then you have the masculine energy, which is the opposite. So this is really the going, the moving forward. It's, the direction, it's decisions, it's the mind, it's the vision, it's doing, right? It's actually operating in the system of, I'm seeing something and I'm putting it into action. And a lot of the teachings out there, a lot of the business teachings out there and the marketing teachings out there, they're all wired around that masculine energy. It's, who is your ideal client? What do you have to do in order to speak to them? What products do you have to create in order to pull them in? How do you have to speak to your prospects? So the whole jargon and the whole way you have to speak, right? It's, very often teachings around, jump into people's inboxes and present yourself and, say who you are, and, literally going and getting the clients and pulling them back, right? Hello, Nadia. So I've got two of my elevated goddesses in the call here. This is so fun. Grab a journal, my love. I'm talking about business and, you know, feminine, masculine energy in the business setting. So a lot of the marketing aspects really are about going out, grabbing things and bringing them into your field, right? And this is something that I was into. This is, you know, I literally paid thousands of dollars and pounds and all kinds of euros on teachings like this, because I wanted to understand, like, what is it that I have to create, right? So from this outer perspective, right? And I'm not saying this is wrong, right? I'm just saying that doing this only literally led me into burnout. So the way the feminine and the masculine really work is that you need that synergy between them, right? So if you are actually polarizing on that masculine aspect, where you're literally going out into the world getting things to bring them, this is one way of operating, right? And then you have the other side of the feminine, where you're literally leaning back, you're being in your radiance, in your luminosity, and you're allowing people to see you, right, in your whole self. So your vulnerable aspects, the way you share yourself in the world, the way you literally illuminate from your own beingness into the world. And literally what creates the polarity is that, you know, the masculine energy is going to, you know, recognize the feminine and literally is going to go and invite her into his world, right? So if the feminine is doing, you know, is not leaning back, is not receiving, is not, you know, allowing people to come to her, what occurs is she's actually literally going to push this masculine energy away from her. Because if she turns into masculine operation systems, right, what occurs is that it actually repels, right? It actually repels the masculine, because the masculine doesn't feel that they can actually be who they really are. So the masculine is literally going to move away, and, you know, until there's polarity. And that's really what creates this attraction phase, right? So in terms of the business, the way this looks like is that if you're in that masculine orientation, what occurs is that, you know, you're literally working 24/7, creating content and posting it all the time. You're literally trying to literally think about all kinds of different context pieces and, you know, creations you can put in the world so that people can, you know, that you can invite people into your field. And that way of operating does work for many people. There's people who are out there and they're making thousands of dollars, like millions, like a year. I'm not saying it doesn't work. What I'm saying is that for me personally, this wasn't the way on how I was really honoring my zone of genius. Because what actually occurred is I was, you know, wondering more about the outer than about, you know, who is it that I really want to be? How can I be in this world? How can I be the business owner, right? And literally create content from my heart. And not worrying so much about what other people needed from me, right? And so we do go through many of these phases, right? We can have phases where we're more in our masculine forward energy and we're like, okay, now it's about, you know, crunch time. We're going to get this done. We're going to set up a program. We're going to do these things. We're going to play them out. But if you're always only, you know, in that masculine energy, what occurs is that literally the program that you're wiring into your system and, you know, the way that the universe operates. So I haven't even brought the whole universe into the spectrum here, but, you know, I will come to that in a second. But what happens is that your energy is literally wired to give, right? So you're giving and over-giving and over-delivering. And, you know, who can I serve? Who can I give to? Who can I support? Who can I, right? So you're literally in that, you know, like you're moving your energy forward, which is, you know, in a sense, you know, what can occur is that you're receiving the clients, people will come to you, they will literally come and get from you, they will receive from you, right? But the very often the issue, and this is something that happened to me, is that, you know, I was giving so much that I was literally never receiving, right? And even if I received, it was just for a very short period of time, or I would receive and then literally lose it again, because I was constantly wired in that giving energy, right? So the masculine is actually giving, it's forward moving, it's setting things into the ground and, you know, moving on that lane. Whereas, you know, if you're never bringing in the feminine energy, you can burn out alone, you know, energetically speaking, you literally burn out. You burn out on ideas, you burn out on overgiving, you literally exhaust yourself. And even though people will want to give to you, they will want to come and sign into the programs, they will want to come in and, you know, receive from you, it's like it's never fulfilling, because you actually haven't, you know, wired your energy in the other way around. I'm just going to read your questions here. Could you give an example of the feminine masculine energy as an artist? Would the feminine be imagining the show while the masculine is in rehearsals, or is it deeper than that? Is your being in rehearsals that could be feminine? Okay, I love this question. These questions, they're so important. I will come to that actually. So literally what we have to do as well, like what happens when we are in that masculine operation system, is that everything is on us, right? So if the company moves forward, if the project moves along, if something you know, is set into motion, it's because of your doing. And we then identify so hard with that our business can only run if we run, that the clients will only come if we invite them in, that, you know, money is only going to show up as much as we put effort into, right? So you can already see where this is going. If you have identified so much with your own business and the way you're operating, right? And this actually works with artists as well. If you have identified so strongly and so rigidly with this masculine forward way of operation, what occurs is that everything is on you, right? And that is the most exhausting piece in the whole game, because you're literally leaving the most beautiful piece of the equation completely out. You're literally blanketing it out. And when we're in the masculine energy, it's very easy for us to actually get stuck up in this third dimensional perspective where everything you know, and you're literally starting to micromanage and overanalyze every single thing that you've been doing, every single thing that you've been saying, every single thing that you have been creating as a means of, was this right? Did this move anything? You know, what else can I do? What did I do wrong? How can I fix myself? And you're literally, there you go, in the hamster wheel, literally spinning on your own legs, trying to get somewhere out of your own doing alone. Now, come in, big superstar of the show, universe, right? So I'm just going to present this to you as a show. And then, you know, this is really this was the most mind-blowing piece in this, because what actually occurred when I really learned about these masculine feminine teachings was that not only are we polarizing a very specific orbit within our, you know, the feminine and the masculine spectrum, but what happens is the universe actually starts to polarize with us on that, because our energy is the determining factor with how the universe is actually going to respond to us. So if we are constantly in that masculine boom, boom, this forward motion, right? This bulldozer going through the world, like I can do this, I can do this, I can crush this, I'm going to get these clients, I'm going to get this money, I'm going to get these projects, I'm going to get these, contracts signed. Literally what the universe has to do, it has to polarize with you on the feminine energy. So all you're going to receive is a response to your own very energy. So if you see yourself and you've identified yourself with being the only Malian in this equation as, you know, the piece that really moves the needle forward in your business, what occurs is that you're literally leaving the universe outside of the door, because you're saying, you know, yeah, sure, the gods are with me, and sure, there's alignment, and sure, there was a lucky day, but you don't actually see the higher purpose here. And this is really where we start to spiral down into the disempowered dynamic between our own feminine, masculine energy. And this is really how we fracture the whole, logic, the whole elevated logic, because this is not an elevated logic where we're operating on the human system, the third dimensional space, and we can get very stuck up there because we start to measure all the things in our third dimensional perspective, so in our outer reality, as a reflection of who we actually have, what actions we have been taking. And so this was something that really blew my mind when I learned that the universe is literally responding to the way that I'm operating in the world. Meaning, if I'm in my masculine energy, the universe is going to be in the feminine and showing up in my outer reality as people who take from me, as situations and circumstances that literally take from me, right? And to the point where it actually occurs to such an extent where it feels like it's actually happening outside of my consent, because I was actually polarizing with I'm giving, let me give more, let me give more of my time, let me give more of my energy, let me give more of my love, right? I was literally in the giving energy. So of course the universe has no other option but to give you people who will take from you, right? And so what really blew my mind was that when I really came into these feminine embodiment principles, and this is why I'm totally obsessed about this now, is that when we actually lean back and we focus more on the being, we are more in tune with what is it that I actually need long term, what is it that is actually going to support the harmony within myself, within all of my relationships. And this is so important, right? Because now we're going to move on to the other side of the spectrum. This is when I literally had empowered clients coming in saying, I want to work with you. I know you're my coach. I know you're my mentor. Like, give me stuff. Like, I need to buy things off of you. This is when my program started to sell, like, during the night. Like, when I launched Millionaire Goddess, it was a tiny little price, but I had something like 10 sales in one night. I woke up in the morning and I looked at my phone. I'm like, I just made like 300 pounds overnight. Like, how did that happen, right? And it's because the way I had wired that, Millionaire Goddess program very specifically was, what do I want to stand for in the world? Okay, I want to stand for women's liberation, women's financial liberation, women's creative liberation, and I want to have a business that not only supports me, but supports everyone who comes into my orbit and supports a much bigger picture at large. And if you've signed up for the Millionaire Goddess, you know that part of the proceeds actually went into my favorite organization ever. It's called Pantera, and they actually, run amazing projects around the world to protect wild catch species. And if you have been in my world, you also know that I'm incredibly passionate about the jaguars and about the panthers and about, the different wild cats, but specifically jaguars, because the jaguar is actually one of my totem animals, like my shamanic totem animal. So for me, it was like, I don't care how much money I'm going to make on this. I don't care how many women I'm going to have on this program. I know the program is good because this is literally things that I've learned about money and how to position money in a specific way. And I know that regardless of how many women sign onto this program, this is going to support me. It's going to support the women who are going to come in. It's going to support an organization that is literally moving huge millions of pieces in the world in terms of, what is happening, economically speaking and, ecologically speaking with, the impact that all of this has on wildlife. And I was literally blown away. And it is actually because I really started to implement this feminine magnetism, right? All the things that I teach about, I'm like, I wonder how this works for my business. Not only just teaching this, but what if I apply these principles to my business? What is going to happen? And what really started to occur actually blew my mind. And this is how women now who come into my field, literally they come in, thinking they want to make money, and they realize I actually want to travel. I actually want to quit my job because my job is exhausting me. They quit their jobs, they go travel the world. During the pandemic, by the way, I have women who come in and they suddenly manifest an aligned and masculine empowered partner, I have women who, like one of my clients has generated $5,000 within the first 11 days of 2021, literally like this. When she signed on to Cosmic Goddess last year in April, she generated 7.5K within 30 days. She had never made that kind of money before, right? And this is really when we actually start to implement this leaning back, worrying more about how is this actually going to sustain me long term? How is it going to really come in and support and wire into my energy in such a way where I can generate from a place of being more than doing? Mama Goddess, this is unreal, because really what actually starts to occur when a woman taps into her feminine magnetism and she starts to lean back and trust, right? And she builds this very specific ways on how we can do this. But the main piece really is about this is that you are worrying more about the process than the actual outcome and the goal, because when you're constantly hustling after the goal and after a specific outcome, you're leaving the best equation out of the game, because you're leaving the universal alignment out of the game. Literally everything that is moving because of you, and you identify with that. So the universe has no other gateway to bring you abundance, to bring you the goodness, to bring you even the things you didn't know were in alignment for you. This is huge, right? This is why when you're really starting to lean and wire into that feminine energy, not only are you healing yourself, you're healing your fractured dynamics, with this patriarchal system that, let's call it, let's call it out. This is outdated. It's not going to work for much longer, because people are clocking with it. This, the system is making people sick. It's for a reason, right? It's an awakening call. I've met so many entrepreneurs who had, a hard wake-up call where they burned out. They were deep in depression. They were taking antidepressants. They lost their marriages. They, lost all of their free time that they would have into addiction to drugs and alcohol and all kinds of and sex, because the system was literally sucking every single piece out of them, right? And I truly believe, now that I've seen how this has been moving literally so much in my own inner world and in my business, and now I'm seeing it working in my clients, I'm like, why are we trying to work things in this way again? What is this for, really, exactly? So if you're really looking into this and you're really wiring into your feminine magnetism, what starts to occur is that if you're in the receptive gateway, guess how the universe is going to polarize with you? It's going to give and give and give and give even more and give even more. And there you go. So you're starting to spiral away from that fractured dynamic with the feminine and masculine energy. You're starting to spiral upward and literally creating a thunderstorm into that energy of, you're literally tapping into your fourth dimensional perspective, where you're becoming aware. This is really why we have these awakening processes coming into our lives. We're becoming aware that there's something that isn't working the way it's supposed to work anymore. And on top of that, we're starting to wire into our, fifth dimensional plane. And the fifth dimension, if you know a little bit about spirituality, really is your zone of genius. This is where you're actually tapping into the potential of, what your soul actually planned for you. And this is so deep, right? This is really why you were born on the planet. When you start to, go up the spiral into that fifth dimensional plane, and you're starting to wire in there, this is literally how you're alchemizing with what your higher self wanted from you. But that higher self perspective and dynamic can't kick in if you're constantly in that doing. I need to do this, and that's the third dimension, and that's the third dimension. So I'm giving you a very different invitation here, and I'm just going to read some of your comments here. Cindy, connecting right on time to this, yes, just leaning back, listening to, yes, I'm so happy that you're an elevated goddess. So I hope that this, is already bringing something for your question here, Cindy, with, the show, right? So literally, your only job as an artist, as a creator, a creatrix, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a light worker, is to wire every single piece in your energetic reality, in your physical reality, for energetic elevation. That is your only job. Because if you're already starting to lean into your feminine essence and you're starting to, add more of that, right? And this is why I'm saying, I said in the beginning, I'm not saying that the masculine is out, it shouldn't be done this way. It's just that you've got to bring more of that feminine essence into your life. If you don't do it, you'll literally burn yourself out. So really here for your question about the show, yes, like the imagination, the intuition, all of that, we will actually talk about this in, Elevated Goddess in module 4. We will really go into intuition and what it really means. But really what you're leaning back into and really like amplifying this feminine magnetism, what is going to start to occur is that you're going to start to trust the desire. You're going to start to trust that sense of, if you can dream it, then that's probably a reason for you to bring it into the world. And it's not just from your own doing alone, is that there's actually a whole mechanism that can be, literally triggered by your feminine essence of being in the receptive gate, that the universe can start to align people to you who are going to make this show possible, who are going to bring, contracts into your field. And it doesn't mean that you don't have to do things in the third dimensional space at all. Like, you have to, of course, but it's the intention with which you do things that will actually change everything, right? Tapping into a genius, I love that. Burned out of ideas sounds familiar. Totally was in my masculine for a while. Absolutely. The overanalyzing his masculine energy sounds familiar too. Finding the higher purpose of a project and event received from a fifth dimensional space and not from a human space. Do you have a mantra or prayer to meditate on? Girl, just practice your dance manifestation. Like, everything will come through that. Literally, dance manifestation is actually, the tool that not only works for dancers. Like, Cindy is a professional dancer and artist, but this thing has been like, this tool has worked for people who don't do dance, because literally what you're doing, and I go so much deeper into this, if you really want to know how dance manifestation really works, the whole science that is backing it, you definitely need to come into Cosmic Goddess, because that's really where I go fully into the process and how to, embody that through dance manifestation. But there's also a piece with dance manifestation that needs to come prior, and you need to master this, which is dance metamorphosis. And dance metamorphosis is all about creating a state of being where your physical body is actually becoming lighter, because you're literally healing all the fractured dynamics that you've imposed on yourself. And this can definitely be so illuminating for you if you have been an artist, and if you have been a dancer specifically, because you've received all this mental conditioning about what it means to be a dancer, about what it means to dance, like what, when you're moving like this, it's dance. If you're moving like this, it's not dance anymore. Like, all of this, you can literally like start to peel it off of you. And what actually happens is that you're literally just making space. You're lightening your physical body to the point where you're starting to reach, higher and higher states of consciousness. And from that place, it's much easier to draw in that fifth dimensional zone of genius, matter, into energetics into matter. So really, I believe that the reason why we've incarnated on the planet isn't just for us to live our human lives. And sure, for most people it might be that, but I do believe that if you're in this group, if you're in my world, you're very, it's like, I could put my hand in fire that you've been a high priestess in past lives. Like, you haven't incarnated on this planet to live a mundane human life. You've incarnated on this planet because you were meant to be one of the leaders, literally, mastering the art of pulling information and data from the fifth dimensional plane and drawing it into physical matter, and then becoming a leader for others to, do it in this way as well, the way that is very unique to you, right? So for me, it's, dance manifestation is the way that I literally can plug in there, into that plane within minutes. But there's people who do meditation, there's people who sing, there's people who create art, there's people who draw, there's people who, play theater. Like, there's so many ways for you to access that divine consciousness. But I do believe that it's literally, it's our birthright to bring our dreams into this third dimensional space, right? So finding the higher purpose of a project and event perceived from yeah, so that's I've already read that. Another question on higher purpose and our whys. After teaching for many years in choreographing, I clearly saw the purpose of serving others and how I was serving others. I'm currently following my gut feeling to perform more, yet I find it difficult to articulate my whys and how it serves the wider world. I know it does, but I can't find the words, and it impacts my confidence. So I feel like, to me, what I'm seeing here, Cindy, is that you're actually starting to go into your zone of genius very, very clearly, because these are definitely, you know, these are the worries that we have. How do I bring this fifth dimensional understanding into this matter in such a way that I will be understood? And so I do believe that it's also the entanglement that you have. And this, by the way, is the same when you're actually starting to notice that there's some clients that you want to align with, right? It's almost not your job to worry about how other people will receive you. Your job is to make that frequency that you pull in from the fifth dimension so powerful and so pure that it becomes almost like more real to you. And because it is so real to you, people will actually recognize and start moving towards you, right? And that is, of course, you know, there's a piece in that puzzle where it's about healing and integrating all the aspects of you that haven't believed that you would actually be the artist here, right now, that you would be, you know, the performer who is going to impact people, right? There's like an identification maybe that you've built where you still don't fully trust and believe that your purpose is wired in with your art, and that your art is already wired into you before you even knew it was going to come through. Does that make sense? So it really is more about how do you purify this, you know, this space within yourself, within your physical body, to such an extent that you can simply be the illumination of what needs to come through you in the moment. Just like, you know, I'm literally, you know, channeling information right now from the fifth dimensional plane, right, from my higher self, but there's such a big force behind me. Like, I have thousands and thousands of light beings standing around me, literally holding space for me every single day. And one of the things that I taught in the Everlasting course is about how to summon in divine intervention, and that it actually is, you know, it's actually so it's Ever, so EVER, so it's the fourth module. It's called Royal Requests and Commands. So Everlasting, by the way, is an acronym for a very specific sequence on how you can literally bust through the different ceilings of your trigger zone and trigger jungle, and, you know, the different pieces that you can align from that fifth dimensional plane. And so one of them is divine intervention, actually summoning in divine intervention, right? Because if you have something that is coming through you, right? And I'm going a little bit off tangent here, you know, on a tangent here, because you're currently in here and there's a question, but I do feel that this also pertains to our business. Like, can we please request in a royal command? Can we make a royal command to the universe and to these higher forces to literally come in and do what they can do, what is out of our control? Can we literally summon them in with so much poise and power, to such an extent that we actually believe that there is thousands and thousands of light beings behind you, ancestors, performers who did, you know, incredible performances before, who literally moved the world? Can you call these energies into your field? Because they're available to you. It's free. Like, you don't have to pay for them, right? They're dead, for God's sake. Like, they're on the other side of the afterlife. This is literally when you're plugging in. And these are things that literally, they came through for me because I actually really started to embody these feminine principles of actually being in my feminine magnetism and trusting that my being and my desires and the dreams that I was having, that I'm actually, I am meant to bring this into life, This is not just because I'm some kind of crazy person. I'm actually bringing them into life because there's women who need this medicine. There's, women who are maybe going to be leaders within their own field and they need this information. And so there was a part where I had to surrender. And this is really where we go fully into the feminine. It's when we understand that our business, our art, all the projects that are coming through in creation for us, right? All the pieces of the puzzle that want to come through us are not only because of us alone. And this is something that blew my mind, because when I realized how many women desired to understand what dance manifestation is actually about, I cried. I cried my eyes out because it was beyond me, right? And so when you understand that your art is beyond you, your business is beyond you, the clients who want to come in are beyond you, the audiences who need to hear you, right? Who need to receive whatever it is that is coming through you, even though I'm saying it's you, but it's not you. You're simply being a channel for the fifth dimensional cosmic consciousness coming through, right? Then you understand why you've got to be in your feminine and fucking lean back. Literally lean back and let the universe bring it through you, right? And so this is really where we actually put our masculine energy on the line. And when we actually make these firm commands and royal requests, literally I'm calling them royal because making a request is cute. Making a royal request has an energetic activation behind it. Do you feel the difference? Do you feel the difference between, I've got to make a request to the universe, between that and I'm going to make a royal command to the universe now? Like, do you feel the power? Do you feel it? Like, if you don't feel it, then you've got to find a way to feel it, because that is really how we start to move pieces in the world and we actually step into leadership. This is the way. Stepping into leadership is not about you and your little power of a human. Stepping into leadership is actually allowing the divine to come through you and actually create and birth through you what it wants to create through you. Because guess what? That dream that you have is not just knocking on your door, it's knocking on thousands of other doors, right? But if it's knocking on your door, it actually chose you. And if it chose you, right, and you're feeling the alignment and the reverberation that this is really the direction where you're going, well, there's your why. You don't need anything else, right? And this is really what is coming through when we really lean into our feminine magnetism. It actually creates natural trust. It creates natural confidence. It creates an organic beingness, because it's there. It's right there in front of your face. There's nothing else you have to do. It's coming through. It's your dream. If you have it and it propels a desire in you to fulfill it, that's your why. You don't need anything else. But the truth is, because we've been so conditioned that, we have to figure out our why, we have to figure out all these things outside of us. It's like we're these robots, like literally maneuvering things outside of us, but we're not actually feeling it, right? But when we bring the feminine energy into our businesses, into our doing, and into all of the things, right, we realize it's far beyond us. Like this is so big, it actually moves the tears out of you, right? Because it's true, right? Tears are truth. If you're crying, it's because there's truth literally pouring through you. You've signed up for this. I'm having goosebumps here. Like, I'm literally, like I'm feeling the download here. You have what it takes to bring it into motion. It's your human self is so fucking scared that you think you're not going to be capable of. And that is fine. But, just place your damn royal commands out there. Like, make them. Request them. Ask for divine power to come in for you, to move the gates, to open the pathways, to clear the roads, to, show you the signs, to bring you the people, to make you hear what you need to hear, right? Yeah, it's moving me as well, Cindy. Oh. Yeah. the dream is knocking on your door because it chooses you, right? So if you're not going to open the door, well, what's the dream going to do? It's going to go to the next door, right? It might come knocking 3 times, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, she still didn't open up, so I guess, she's not available today. Let me go to someone else. And this is really what happens when we're so wired into that masculine energy of doing, giving. Like, even though we're hearing all these things, we're like, no, I'll do it later because I actually need to get my next client. No, I'll do this later because this is actually going to pay my bills. No, I'll work with this mentor some other time because now doesn't feel like it's the time. Like, this is literally how we shut the door to the dreams, and they're like, okay, I'll come back tomorrow then. And then they'll come back tomorrow, and then tomorrow, and then tomorrow, and then tomorrow. When are you actually going to move towards your dreams and that, with that poison power, right? Not with force and getting things done. It's poise and power. Poise in dance is very different from posture, right? It's like the poise that you have on stage actually creates an energetic vortex around you. Taking a posture, everybody can stand straight, but actually having poise while you're standing, this is really what moves the needle, right? This is really how you see, I don't even want to say a skilled dancer, because we can all be skilled dancers, but the poise that a dancer has and the way they really position themselves into the energetic vortex of what the spirit of dance wants to move through them. We can feel poise, right? We can feel the difference between somebody standing in poise and somebody standing in posture. 2 very completely different things. Posture is 3rd dimension. Poise is 3rd dimension, making space for the 4th dimension, the 5th dimension, and above. It creates an energetic synergy and vortex. Right? You're so welcome, Cindy. It's my pleasure. It truly is. So, yeah, I think I covered, most of it, what I really wanted to cover. And thank you so much, Cindy, for asking these questions, because I feel like I was able to go even deeper, because of this. So thank you so much for jumping on and, staying in. I'm so thankful to you, because really, like, this is something that is funny, because I'm actually a generator, so this is something that really, like, freaked me out, because a lot of this is actually from my dancer days. I'll just tell you this little story and then I will go off. But one of the things that really, like, freaked me out when I was learning how to become a dance teacher was these teachers who would come in and they had all their pages out and their little carnets, and they would literally write, had all their exercises written down. And, later on, as I went to teach, I just, I couldn't get myself to prepare my damn classes. Like, I had some ideas about what I wanted to teach about, more or less, but really, like, sitting down to write down my exercises, like, that was never a piece of my game. And for so many years, I felt so guilty about it. I felt like I was the worst teacher in the world because I couldn't prepare my classes, because I couldn't actually set my mind on a very specific exercise I was going to do. And until there was a point, where I had already started to teach, I was already teaching maybe 5 or 6 years in. So, imagine, for 6 years, I felt like the worst teacher in the world because I didn't have my classes prepared. Can you imagine that? Like, every time I'm thinking about this, I'm just like, oh, bless you, Lizzie. Like, honestly. And what I found out, throughout the years, I found out, that I'm actually a generator, human design. And generators actually respond, and they respond to other people. So when another person is in the room, they can feel alignment or not. So I can feel when somebody is asking me a question, I'm like, oh, yeah, I should answer that question. This is how I actually tap into my zone of genius without knowing. So I literally had to physically move into the classroom with how many ever pupils I had on that day. Right? Sometimes I had 5 pupils, sometimes I had 50 pupils, right? But it's like, I could never think my classes into being without having my students standing there. It just was straight down impossible. And that is because when I was actually standing in the room and I was probably sensing these children's energies and I was sensing what they needed, I was sensing, yeah, just what dance wanted from me in that moment to channel for them. Although at the time I had no fucking clue that that was what was happening. But I can see it so clearly today, right? It's like I needed to stand there. Of course I did, because I'm a generator. I'm coming in, I'm tuning into the space, and I'm feeling what is required in this space in order to create something amazing, right? And I've always had the most incredible shows with my students. I had the most incredible classes. We won awards after awards. Like sometimes we won awards where there were people who had been training for so many, you know, years already. They were professionals, and I would come in with my little, you know, students that I would see once or twice a week, and literally we would just clean the show off. Can you imagine? Right? And I think this is really because of alignment. I knew what these pupils needed in order to get into alignment and to create these energetic vortexes of poise that I've just talked to you about. And so today I'm just like, thank God I never prepared my classes, because what really wanted to come through me, I was a natural channel, right? I couldn't think things into being. That would have made literally, I would have clogged up the energetic vortexes, not only of my own, but also of these students, right? And this is literally how I've created my programs. Like my programs they always have a little bit of freedom around them, because I actually tune into the energy of the women who are actually in the programs. And I've realized that if I have more or less of an idea about what I want to teach, but then I actually really fine-tune it to the women who are already in the vortex. This is how my programs literally, they, you know, it seems like they always, you know, top themselves over, because what I'm actually bringing to the table isn't just things that I've learned, but it's actually a little beautiful blend between the things I know to be true and what these women specifically need to hear. And I have so many women in my newsletter. Sometimes they write to me and they're like, Lizzie, I feel like you've just written this newsletter to me. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I was just literally, you know, channeling. But it's like there's a fifth dimensional consciousness that already knows that what I'm going to say or write in that specific way, right, it's going to touch someone on the other end. And this is really the magic that I have bumped into almost, I almost want to say it literally was by sheer miracle, because let's be truthful here. Like I've learned all these things and I'm teaching a lot of these things, but they've always gone through the filter of my own experience, right? And if you're here sitting, you know, receiving, you know, these teachings, it's also because on some level there is a reverberation for you. Otherwise you wouldn't be here, right? You're recognizing something. There's something that you're recognizing, and it's just that most likely you're capable, more than capable, of actually accessing and plugging into that fifth dimensional cosmic consciousness yourself and go draw beauty from that space. So, you know, maybe I'm just coming in as a facilitator for that, but the truth being is that you already carry this within you. And so you've got to really start to operate less on this third dimensional masculine forward perspective and leaning more into your feminine energy, where you can actually see everything that is being laid out in front of you and that is already there, right? And literally then receive what is it that wants to come through you, right? What is it that wants to come through you from that fifth dimensional perspective, your zone of genius, which is very likely not even anything that you've ever imagined this to be. If you had told me 10 years ago that I'd be sitting here in front of my laptop for 55 minutes now almost, right, teaching women on the other side of the planet about something that was, yeah, a little bit related to dance, but mostly about spirituality and, you know, energetic alignment, I would have laughed at you. I'd be like, no, I signed up to become a professional dancer. This is not what I signed up for, right? But this is really what the magic is that, yeah, you think as a little human that you signed up for specific things, but there's so much more occurring beyond your understanding that, you know, if you really lean into it and trust that, then it's like it changes everything. It changes everything about who you are in the world, about what is coming through you, what kind of artwork. You are a masterpiece in motion, my dear. You're a masterpiece in motion. So can you allow yourself to just be the muse of the universe, right? And just birth it forth. Feeling the energy in the space and people. And I've had on paper, I always found it weird, right? Like, how can I know? It's amazing. All right, my love. I feel like I've completed, you know, what I really wanted to talk about. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this was helpful, and it literally brought you something, right? That literally you know, give me a short summary of 3 things that you're taking away from this class that you feel, oh my gosh, like this is what I'll keep. Like these are the 3 gems, right? What are the 3 gems that you're keeping from this class, and literally that are actually supporting your feminine energy more than the doing craze? Literally leaning back into your feminine essence and going, oh my goodness, like I received this. And can you allow those 3 things to actually fully land? Let them land inside of you. Let them, you know, literally land. Without questioning, without judging, without wondering what is happening in the future. Literally let these things land in the now, right here, right? I love that you love that. I don't know where that came from. Can you allow yourself to be a muse for the universe? Yes. Actually, I realized that I'll just wait a few more minutes because if I jump off, then, you know, I won't be able to read. I really want to celebrate what you're taking away from this class, Cindy, and if anybody else is watching. I actually can't see who or how many people are watching when I'm on my laptop. When I'm on my phone, I can, but not when I'm on my laptop. Yeah, but it's amazing, really. I actually found out I'm working with this incredible mentor at the moment, and we're doing soul branding. So it's branding from your soul, and it literally is just illuminating all the things I already knew to be true, which is literally bringing in another spin on this. And so we found out that I have 2 archetypes that are really my main archetypes. And one of them is the alchemist and the other one is the artist. And so they both scored the same. Like they were, you know, when I did there's a test that, you know, she has, it's all her proprietary information, so I can't share more than that. Basically, when we ran the test, I ran it twice, and 2 times I had, you know, equal numbers for the artist and the alchemist. And I was like, yeah, of course, I'm an alchemist, and, you know, the influencing archetype for me is the artist, right? And she was like, yeah, but that's not how we decide, right? Like, your main archetype isn't just the one that you think it is. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she said, no, like, which one I want you to feel. And then she read these soul contracts out, because every archetype apparently has a soul contract. And so she read out the soul contracts, and I was literally feeling into them. And she said, so which one do you feel will stretch you more in this life? Like, which one do you feel your soul is actually going to stretch, like expand more? You know, the alchemist or the artist? And I was like literally just bawling my eyes out, because yeah, mentally I wanted it to be the alchemist, but actually deep down inside it's definitely the artist. Like, the artist scares the shits out of me. Like, I remember there was this one time I was still in professional dance school. It was, I think, my first or my second year. I was, you know, like the little cute little chick, like coming in, yeah, dance school, this is so cool. And he was like, do you know that you are all artists? And I'm like, me? An artist? What do you mean I'm an artist? No, I can't be an artist. Like, no, you go to a dance school and you're not an artist. Like, really? Like, it was so hilarious. Like, now that I'm thinking about this, but it triggered the shits out of me. Like, I could not, I was like, I can't, like, my mind couldn't even process me calling myself an artist. Are you crazy? And that's probably, you know, the trigger zone always shows you where you really need to go. And so, yeah, I started crying because I knew that the artist is the archetype that really speaks to me deep down. Like, this is really where I'm coming from, and probably this is where this came from. You know, can you allow yourself to be a muse for the universe? Because I believe that really my soul brilliance is I unleash the muse. That's it. That's my sole purpose. And it's my brilliance, and this is really what I propel in women. Women come to me and they feel the muse within them unleashed on some level, whether it's in love, in money, in creation, in all the things that want to come through them. But really the muse to me is the representative feature of she's always plugged into this, cosmic paradise, and she's literally going in and bringing in the inspiration, and she's like fluttering around. So what about this? What about this? Let's create this. So I'm going to read you 3 gems. Can you allow yourself to be a muse for the universe? You're keeping this zone. I love that. Your zone of genius is in the fifth dimension. Yes. And royal requests. I love this. Yes. We will talk a little bit about royal requests and commands as well in the 3rd module of I will bring that piece in as well. I know it's in another course, but I'll bring it in and actually make it match, because the next archetype that we will visit in the 3rd module is actually the whole everlasting course has completely been built on that archetype alone. And so royal requests and commands will be one of them. All right, my love, I've been here for an hour. I can't believe it. Time has gone so fast. This was so much fun. Thank you so much for tuning in. Sending you a lot of love. Have a beautiful day wherever you are, and I will speak to you soon.